The Underground, Ideas into Action presents an Underground Chat, where we bring the underground conversation to you. Today's chat, an underground field report on virtual financial empowerment with underground correspondent Cynthia Campbell, Chief Experience Officer of Balance, and contributors Raina Short, Manager of Community Development at Delta Community Credit Union, Nico Stubblefield, Membership and Community Development Manager at Eglin Federal Credit Union, and Heather Kay, VP of Financial Empowerment at Tinker Federal Credit Union.
Hello, everybody. It's Cynthia Campbell. I'm CXO at Balance. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today. I'm a field reporter for the Underground Collision, a dream job that I've always wanted, and I'm here with you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. But more importantly, I have three amazing leaders in financial empowerment with me here today. I'd like to take a couple minutes to introduce you to them before we get started. But this panel is going to be about shift happens. We're all living in a time of shift. Financial empowerment is no different, and these ladies have been in the front lines of financial empowerment through this pandemic as it's still happening, and have still maintained incredible financial empowerment programs. So we're going to learn all about that. How do I know they're amazing? Because they've been serving Balance for quite some time on our advisory panel. They bring wisdom, insight from the field to Balance so that we can make adjustments in our business and our products to best serve credit unions. So let me introduce you first. First, we have Raina Jones-Short. She is the Manager of Community Development at Delta Community Credit Union. They are a $7.2 billion institution. And all of these women have incredible bios. I tend to pick up something out that really draws my attention. I'd like to tell you about their credit union, and in her financial education center, they've been recognized for outstanding outreach to members and communities through CUNA. So congratulations on leading an incredible program. We look forward to hearing more about it. Next, we have Nico Stubblefield. She comes to us from Eglin Federal Credit Union. It's $2.2 billion in assets. She is the Membership and Community Development Manager. What stood out to me on her bio, I mean, get ready for this, y'all. She's on 5 boards of Chamber of Commerce. 5 Chamber of Commerce she's involved with. That's a lot of rubber chicken dinners right there, folks, okay? So she is out there and she is working her community and she knows what's what. So you're gonna hear about her programs at her credit union. Last but not least, my fellow Oklahoman, Ms. Heather Kay, at my former credit union, Tinker Federal Credit Union, and where I keep my money. So she is the VP and Financial Empowerment Manager over there, $4.4 billion in assets. They have an incredible program. She, too, reaches out to the community through leadership positions. She's just a couple here, but Federal Reserve Economic Education Advisory Council, Oklahoma Council on Economic Education, and John Marshall Finance Academy. So these are just a few ways through leadership she's influencing Oklahoma City and Oklahoma for the good in financial empowerment. So thank you, ladies, for your service on this panel today. Let's dive right in. So let's start with Nico. Nico, tell us a little bit about your program pre-COVID. Rewind, beginning of February. What was life like before life was like this? Tell us about it.
Well, we were just clicking right along. And a lot of our financial, of course, our community events and our outreach programs and, things of that nature. So in various forms, but a lot of face-to-face opportunities with the community, with our groups, with our youth education programs, all of those sort of things were happening primarily face-to-face. There was some virtual opportunity there. And then all of a sudden, we got a visit that was called COVID-19, and my calendar just went blank in terms of those events and activities and things that we had utilized, in the past as a means for us to connect with our members. And so
Mm-hmm.
Gathered our team together, and it's interesting that our focus is that shift happens because in our
Mm-hmm.
and we've got to shift focus here and pivot and think about things a little differently. But for me, a previous employer, I was almost 100% virtual. So I thought, hey,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so let's focus on some solutions and how we can utilize, virtual collaboration tools to get the word out and to continue a financial education. And so obviously there, is going to be a greater need, if you will, to have that happen because this, pandemic had visited us. And so it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was with a mentor once, who's just absolutely wonderful. And she said to me, never waste a good crisis. So never
Mm-hmm.
waste the opportunity to look at things a little differently. And so that's what we've done. We just had an opportunity, and I call it an opportunity, to pivot and look at how we're delivering financial education, how we're delivering,
Mm-hmm.
service and outreach to our members. And so we've done that. And
Mm-hmm.
various means of even our select employee group onboarding process, now that's done virtually. And we've helped our community to really see that these tools can be engaging as well. Because it was new for everyone. So that's just a little bit where we were and kind of where we've moved.
Yeah. Awesome. We're going to dive into some of that more for sure. But Heather, we'll come to you in Oklahoma. Tell us a little bit about what was Tinker doing before? Give us a feel so that when we hear more about your pivot, we see what really was going on. Because you've had a strong program for some time too, and probably in phase. So tell us a little bit about life at Tinker in February and tease us about your pivot. And we'll come back to some more deep pivot questions.
Sounds good. Yeah, so in February, we were rolling along. Everything we do is in person. We really didn't do hardly any virtual at all. So everything's very in person. I have 2 full-time educators. They are out in the field every day. So when COVID hit, it just was like, what do we do next? And resources that we already have and start maybe a new virtual model at it. So got more info on that as we go along, but yeah, it was definitely a different time, and had to make everyone feel valuable and be able to do their jobs in a different manner.
How about you, Raina? Was your program mostly in person too, or did you already have some virtual elements?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because just last year, we started talking about hosting some webinars. And so our financial education center kicked off back in 2016. And so just to give you a little bit of context as far as numbers, we were serving cumulatively around 16,000 members through in-person workshops. And those workshops were held at our branches. And so we averaged around, 100 workshops a year just at branches. And so we were still doing that this past, earlier in the year, January and February. And we had conducted about 20 in-person workshops just in those 2 months. So we were, again, as Heather and Nico said, just kind of trucking along. And we had done one webinar that we practiced. And so COVID comes. So it's weird that we were already kind of preparing for it, even though we didn't know we were. And so, of course, everything was in person, from member education within our branches, and included in those numbers are also the workshops and lunch and learns that we were having at our SEGs, our select employee groups. And we were at schools providing workshops. So included in that number is also some school workshops that we were doing in the classrooms. So yes. February, March comes, and da-da.
Yes. Right. Well, thank you for setting the pace of where you were. So you all are working at credit unions that are very involved in their SEGs, in their communities, in their schools. You all have that in common. And so COVID hits, and I think, initially people are like, maybe this will be over soon, and then it wasn't. And, so what are you seeing that your members need the most? And maybe that comes to you through your branch personnel or through surveys or through folks reaching out to you. What are you hearing that our members really need right now in your different markets? And when you answer, please remind them of what state you're in as you answer and kind of what the folks in your state are needing from you. Let's start with Nico.
Well, I am in the sunshine state of Florida. Here, I think initially our members just needed to know that we are here. And, we were saying to our members, this too shall pass at some point. What can we do for you? So I think initially there was just, this unrest that now we're in the middle of this experience and uncharted waters for all of us. And so we just started to do that, to reach out, to say, we're here. What do you need? Some of the basics of just so, you will be familiar with our electronic services and, because during different phases of it, our branches were closed for a period of time. So we wanted to just stay connected with our members. And so we started a project, our outreach project with our team, just literally on the phone and calling and connecting via email with our members, with our select employee groups, with our nonprofit, organizations, our youth programs that we've worked with. And through that, I found just some basic, at the beginning, just some basic budgeting needs, because folks now have found themselves to have a reduction in hours or to not, have employment at all. And how do we manage this? How do we do that? So we were able, as a result of just the outreach program, to identify some of those needs and, be able to share, some of that using the virtual tools.
That's awesome. I love that proactive reach out lets our members know we care about their whole person, and we can start with finances, but it's more than that. That's great. That's wonderful. Heather, tell us a little bit about what is going on in Oklahoma. What are our members needing? What are they asking of you all?
Right. Well, as you said, I'm here in Oklahoma. So, we did very similar things that Nico's talking about. I mean, there was just a lot of outreach, and I just think they really wanted information. How do we get into the bank? How can we process things? What kind of electronic tools do you have available? That kind of things. We maintained our drive-through at all times so they could come back. We did everything through drive-through. But there was a lot of, it was just uncertainty for everyone. Just like we were glued to the news. We tried as much communication as possible via our website, constantly putting out information and letting our members know that we're here for them and we were ready to do whatever they needed us for. So lots of
Yes. And how about you, Raina? What is
So,
going on? Remind us where you're from again also.
Absolutely. Delta Community Credit Union is in Atlanta, Georgia, and we service 14 counties in the surrounding metro area. And our members were really, as Heather said, wanting to know how can they access their resources that they have with us. And there was a lot of uncertainty regarding how were they going to maintain their financial health. And we found that people were asking a lot of our retirement and investment services team because they wanted to know a lot of money management strategies, such as, how are we going to reduce our expenses and how are we going to look at our budgets on a daily basis when, my spouse is a small business owner. We processed a lot of PPP loans. So there was a lot of need for assistance with our small business members and how are they going to prioritize their savings against their debt management. So there was, a lot of need that was coming in to the credit union swiftly. And so we had to really deploy, not just our frontline branch staff and teams, but also our member care center, our call center, with equipping them. And so we even had other staff and team members deployed to some of those positions temporarily, just to assist with the questionings that were coming in from our members.
Wow, that's amazing. And getting them equipped, right? You know, like making sure they know how to do financial triage, and then move people
Absolutely.
from triage into working towards a financial health picture. So, wow, that's a lot going on in all three of these spaces. So as all of this is going on, you're saying my model's not working anymore because it's an in-person model. We have new needs and more needs from those that are there, but our channel is gone, right? So then what did you do? Like, tell me about your pivot. How did you reach out to these people? What are you doing to get the message out to them? Let's do it in reverse order. I know, I'm getting crazy. Raina, you go first.
Absolutely. So it's so funny because it is that, okay, guys, what are we going to do? And so our team, we came up with, we launched what is called the Financial Education Center Financial 15 series. And so this was a webinar series that was a 3-part series where we literally recorded 15-minute on-demand webinars for our members and our SEG partners and community partners. And all it did was give 15-minute snippets of financial guidance. And so we had over 11 different topics. And so that took a minute because we had to record them precisely at 15 minutes because we knew that people were now at home and they needed to be able to digest pertinent information to help them, but quickly. And so because of that, we garnered almost 2,000 views through our Financial 15 series, and it was highly successful. We communicated through emails, hundreds of thousands of emails went out to our members, our newsletter, social media, all of those different channels to get people to tune in, and they actually did. We were really surprised. We didn't know, what to expect, but everything around COVID relief, CARES Act, saving, reducing expenses, budgeting, and it proved highly, highly successful.
That is amazing. That's a wonderful program. We've noticed too, any of the articles we've put out around COVID finance, the special rules, how to entertain your kids at home, how to entertain your spouse at home. No, I'm just kidding. Any articles about those things, those are getting lots of hits, lots of shares, a lot of interaction. People want some life hacks now of what they're supposed to do in this pandemic. Heather, tell us about your pivot. What are some of the standout things that you've done because of COVID? What looks different?
Right. So our initial pivot was we need to get some financial education out there. Of course, it all started happening the month of April, which was Financial Literacy Month. So everyone's talking about it on the news. So there was this big pressure of we got to do something, scramble. And we were all working from home at the time, so all remotely. And so we decided to come up with short videos, kind of like Raina said, but we made ours for social media only. And so tried to keep them. Well, initially we kept them at like, and then we decided, let's just try 2 minutes. But it's really hard to shrink a lot of information down into that. So that was like the first struggle, was getting it down to that 2 minutes. And then we did that, and we had 2 educators. So we'd figure out what topic we're going to do, and one educator would write the script, record it from home, and then send it to the other educator, and he would do a PowerPoint, but have him talking at the same time. Put it to where it was really visual, more interactive kind of situation. But we did 2 of those videos a week for a very long time.
Wow.
It was a lot of work. It was really good, super great learning opportunity. But we're doing 1 a week now. But we were doing 2 for a long time. But mainly whatever was the current situation. If it was the stimulus checks or unemployment fraud, it was any topic that we were trying to push that information out.
Right. Yeah. The unemployment fraud hit so many governmental employees, and certainly, your credit union probably has some of those, right? Being Air Force Credit Union. It was a big topic. We got a lot of calls at Balance about that too. So really, I love it. I follow you all on social because I'm a member, and Joe and Giovanni, they do a good job on social. That's intimidating to go out there like that. Woo! They're doing a good job, and in Spanish too. Yeah.
Right.
Most likely.
To do that out that we did each one we would do in English and in Spanish. Giovanni luckily is fluent in Spanish, so he would do that and post on Facebook and Instagram. So it went really well.
Wow. Good job. Fantastic. And how about you, Nico? Tell us a little bit about your pivots, and even if it includes special programs, any lending programs, anything that might have been helpful in COVID.
Yeah, and so some of the same things that Raina and Heather has mentioned, and for us in terms of looking at social media and how can we utilize that platform to get the information out as quickly as we through the outreach program had identified needs and opportunities there. So we were able to do that. As Heather mentioned, it came at the Financial Literacy Month. And so we're like, how can we, again, looking at solutions, how can we utilize that? And so during that time, we did a financial education bee for the youth and had that and deployed that through social media. And it was amazing to see how many of the kids, and so it was a whole 5-series module, that they, had to complete. And it was interesting to see the click time and how long they spent in each one of those modules. And it again came at a good time because they're at home. So it gave mom and dad some things to do to keep them busy. So, would we have, maybe considered that platform, but for this experience? Perhaps, maybe not. But it gave us an opportunity. Okay, well, this is great. So we're going to start things out. Things that we would have, opportunities we received from Balance. We're able to highlight those social media wise, utilizing that. And some of the opportunities came through the outreach, that we did. So we had an opportunity to say, hey, let's get together with your employees and let's have, a virtual huddle. And so if you've got them in the morning, let's get them to log on, and we take 10 minutes and, whatever questions they might have, get those to me, prior to our huddle time. And then we can discuss that, for them. So out of that, birthed that additional opportunity. So they were, it was coming in fast and furious from that particular area to do that. So a lot of it, the outreach that we had in place, looking at opportunities, utilizing social media platforms. And we're in the process now of that bite-sized learning that Raina mentioned, and incorporating that. And so members have access to that when they're on our website. So we're doing some of that now. And that was birthed out of, this experience. And
It is so fun to get your employees involved too. Like we do a little bit of that. We have one of our employees, her name is Joy. She just does such a great job at those little balance minutes. And it's fun to see talent rise to the top, and using that as a transition. They say, whoever they are, that when you go through trauma, collective trauma, which is what this pandemic is, with people, the people you work with, you're always going to remember those people. That's going to be a time of, oh my gosh, it was so hard. We did this together, right? If you've in Florida have gone through hurricanes, Oklahoma, tornadoes, we all have our thing, right? That we go through this stuff with people, and those are our bonds. And certainly at work, for so many people I've talked to, you're like, I want her by my side no matter what. During this crisis, she was amazing. Or maybe the opposite. Just saying that you learn, like, okay, no, I'm not going on Survivor with her. That's not going to work, or whatever it is, right? And so let's look at the positive. Tell me what has risen to the top about your team, your credit union. International Credit Union Day is right around the corner in October. And let's talk for a minute about what we love about where we work. Tell me what you love about your credit union. And let's switch it up, and we'll do the middle first. Heather.
Well, let's see. What I love about learn, especially going through something like this, what you really learn is how you can really work together. We definitely work together more than we ever have during something like this, especially with communication, working separate areas. Some might be in the office, some at home, all different situations, kids at home, and just really appreciating their diversity and being able to work with everyone's schedule, caring for your employees, caring for the members. I mean, that's a really unique environment to be in. And I had lots that don't work here that were like, I can't believe you guys are getting to do all this. Or, I mean, it's just very supportive.
It was so cool to see all your employees come together and sew masks, and people who knew how to sew, they made masks for members in your branches, and a lot of credit unions did that. That was so cool.
Right. We had several employees, myself included. I don't know how to sew, but I could help put them together, and my daughter sewed. So we sewed a thousand. We got everyone involved. We had 1,000 masks that we donated to the Children's Hospital, and then we did masks for every employee for the credit union, which is around 800 employees. So there was a lot of masks to be made in the beginning as well. So.
That is the spirit of community. That's where it's at with credit unions. I love credit unions for that. Nico, tell us why you love your credit union.
I hope this doesn't sound corny. I mean, it's just, like I have a leadership team here, and it's funny, and it's like there was a post on Facebook, and Jerry Williams, who's our CEO, and I, they're like, they're that dynamic duo. Like we're all over, from taking lunches to our first responders and our military, the medical staff, and just an appreciation, for what they're doing and how can we give back. And so that was one of the first things that, as we, we're kind of talking about, how can we help our community? So there's this sense of community here at the credit union, volunteerism, here, you don't have to, kind of get them going or rile them up. They're calling, what can we do? How can we help participate, from the masks and things of that nature? Now, I'm not that great at doing those sort of things, but I can certainly donate materials.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's like galvanizing, and just the fact, I mean, they're just good corporate citizens, and looking at that. And so, meeting with the leadership team and our CEO, it's like, let's see, what we can do. We created an EFCU Cares program. And so looking for opportunities to help our nonprofit, organizations and businesses, in the areas of small businesses that are the backbone of, our community, and what can we do to keep them afloat, during the time. And so, sponsoring grants and just donations that the board approved immediately right off the bat. Yes, let's do that. And so it's easy to work for and work with an organization that truly walks the mission and the vision of the organization. And so it's it's in times of crisis and times of things when you really get to see, what's really kind of ingrained in an organization. And I am so pleased to say that I serve an organization, I work with a group of people that are just amazing at what they do.
That is so true. So true. You got to walk the talk, right? And it is coming out in this crisis. If you watch social media, there's some companies that aren't faring well on the way they have treated their employees in this crisis. I will not mention names, but let's get back to positive. Raina, tell us what you love about your credit union.
Absolutely. So at Delta Community, our CEO, Hank Halter, always says, community is in our name. And so the culture is just that. And the employees and members are all treated like family. I was so proud of Delta Community for really coming together to embrace the employees during not only just this pandemic, but then you've got other societal issues that are, kind of prevalent right now. And so we created a diversity and inclusion committee for the organization. We also take the financial education so seriously that we also offered webinars to our employees. So they were
Mm-hmm.
able to participate as well. Speaking of,
Mm-hmm.
children's hospitals, Heather, we donated $20,000 worth of masks to our local children's hospital as well. And then our board, they were like, what else are we doing? How else are we helping the community? And so we created roughly about $150,000 pool of money specifically to help nonprofits who are doing work around COVID relief efforts, small business, diversity and inclusion, and financial
Mm-hmm.
wellness. So we had a special fund specifically that we're just now granting the money to. So it took a couple months to kind of get them
Mm-hmm.
in. So
Mm-hmm.
alongside of the education, we're also still very much supporting the community in unique ways. And that's what I love
Mm-hmm.
about Delta Community Credit Union.
That is so awesome. And thank you for bringing up the diversity aspect. In the middle of this COVID pandemic crisis, we have so much other stuff going on, social unrest, and really this pandemic has shown us that it's hit the poorest among us the hardest, right? The poorest households that have the most essential workers living in one place, that have to go out to earn the living, that come home to a high populated household, right? So it's hitting them further. So it's shining a light on the inequities. I think we know in credit union world that racial equity starts with financial equity. And that's what we do every day. And we can't lose sight that financial empowerment is part of that whole solution, right? If we can really empower people financially, that's where some of that work can be done. So kudos to the three of you and your teams that are doing it. So as we get to wrapping things up here, I'd like to just think about for a moment, we're at this historical time. We've been at some historical times in the past. We had, bank transfer day, and we've had some things like that in the past. And now we're sitting here kind of at the pinnacle. Here's COVID. Our members are in all sorts of different situations. We've pivoted. We're looking towards the end of the year already. Fall weather in Oklahoma today. Thank you. And so we're heading towards the end of the year. What does it look like for your credit union or for credit unions? How do we take this moment in time, looking at New Year's Eve, and say, 2021, we're coming for you? What does that look like for us and our members? What's in your scopes? What's coming next? Give us some inspiration of what's out there. I'm not asking you to have a crystal ball. We could still be, sheltered in place in February. God help us all. But what does it look like for you? What is it? How is your credit union going to stand out at this important time? You're already doing it. How do you not get fatigued? How do you keep doing it? Because we keep thinking it's ending and it's not. How do you keep the fire lit and move on to 2021? What are you wishing for? And let's see, you go in whatever order you'd like. We're getting really crazy now. So whoever wants to go first.
I don't mind going. I'm wishing for our members their sanity, their safety, and their prosperity, because I know people, there are several people who are struggling. And while we're blessed to be able to continue every day, I empower my team to look at who can we help next. And so for me, that gives me the fuel to keep going on behalf of the credit union so that we can continue to educate one more person or help them turn, their financial situation around, even amidst this terrible time. There are a lot of people who don't have their jobs. And so how can we help them through? So for me, that's that crystal ball to just keep pushing, keep striving to help as many people as we can. And then for those people who are out there who are with the large, financial institutions, who want to feel appreciated and valued personally and financially. And so I would love to see more people come over to credit unions because they'll, of course, be treated, with that level of care and concern. And I think that that's what differentiates our credit unions from those other financial institutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who's next?
Yeah, I can go next. That's Fine with me. Well, one, I'm hoping everyone is healthy and we maybe vaccination and we could go back to normal. That would be awesome. Travel and do all the things we haven't been doing. But, most importantly is just, I think through all this is being able to reach more people. When we do in person, that's great. And it's very kind of that personal touch. And I think that's what we're known for. And of course, keep doing that. Hopefully we will be doing that. But then since we did the pivot with doing virtual, whether it be videos, and we're doing virtual workshops now too for businesses, community groups. We did a homeless shelter of these youth. That was very challenging, but again, taught
Wow.
a lot of silver linings in that for sure. How to really hone in on what they are looking for and speaking specifically. Bringing more innovative ideas into whether it's virtual or in person. I think we get in a role of doing the in-person, our normal routine. And so now having to do this, we really out some new things that we can put into our workshops virtually and in person that will really spark a little more interest, I think, and keep them more engaged. So that's what I'm hoping.
Excellent. Awesome. I'm sure you'll achieve that for sure and more. Nico, what's up? What's the New Year's wish for you?
I think the same thing, theme, I should say. Good health, good wealth, a vaccine coming for our members, and just as been stated, more opportunities to serve, to stay connected with our communities. It's one of the reasons that I've been involved with the credit union movement for a number of years now, because it's really what we do to continue to help our members be prosperous, to grow from an education perspective. I'm excited that our Florida legislature has now approved a mandatory financial education course in high school. Yay, that's exciting. I was tapping different, representatives and things at our various chamber things and saying, listen, how can we partner with you? Helping to create some of that curriculum or deploy it, facilitate it, that sort of thing. So just looking for more opportunities to educate, starting younger, right? So we're creating, the numbers that we want to lend to, in the future. Just more opportunities to just serve our communities and be engaged. Our nonprofit, organizations that are working so hard with various sectors, in the community. And how can we help to continue? I just last weekend I did a virtual financial education session for a transitional home here in our community, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing, and had 3 other folks to call afterwards and wanting to continue the conversation. So it's that sort of thing, more and more of that, more opportunity. So that's what I want my team with, looking for serve and being creative while doing it.
Yes. That's right. It sounds like you certainly are being creative. All 3 of your organizations really are standing out here in this space. And, at Balance, we were mostly remote before COVID because we've always served the whole country. And so we've had employees across the country working from their homes for some time. There were some programs we needed to pivot, but we were able to because we were kind of used to it already. So that part wasn't hard. But like you all, we've pivoted workshops to webinars, right? Webinars have been still a steady thing. Some shorter clips like y'all are doing has certainly been part of our repertoire. Credit unions have reached out to say, hey, our employees need some more training on how to do financial triage. Can you do training? Your counselors train our employees to do the triage. That's great. We're happy to help with that. We do have a program, maybe you've heard of it. It's with the Cornerstone Credit Union Foundation called Balanced Life. It's a reality fair, and there's a classroom version. So I'm looking at 2021, and I'm thinking, the classroom situation, who knows? We might not be able to do reality fairs the way we used to. We've had this classroom version but we are pivoting that now to virtual classroom version. So they don't have to print stuff and, you know, do things. It's all like on PDFs and this and that. So we're trying to pivot a reality fair to be done in a virtual classroom. So wish us luck with that. We might need a few tries to get that right because, you know, different learning platforms and you just don't know what the hiccups are going to be till you do it a little bit sometimes. But we're trying to keep up and get tools to credit unions too that you guys can use. So I just again appreciate your expertise, the work you're doing out there in the field. The awards that you get for it are just the icing on the cake. It's really the members that you're helping that is where it's at. And I'm so glad that you are in the credit union movement and that there's women leaders leading the way for financial empowerment across the country, and that you're pivoting and you're leading. This just makes me so excited to see you all. We sometimes get to see each other in person for our advisory group, but it's been a minute. So it's beautiful to see your faces. Thank you all so much for joining us. And
Thank you
for the opportunity.
Yes.
Great.
yeah.